Well, hello and howdy. Scott McDonald, CC Hawkley, episode number 22, Claude Lemieux or Connor Timmins these days of Front Range Hockey. Scotty, how are you, my man?
Been better. I feel like, I'm feeling very similar to, I'm sure, how, a lot of Avs fans are feeling out there. It's been disappointing. It's obviously not over yet. We're going to Vegas and hopefully stealing one, but not great. Yeah.
Well, at least we've got a friend to start the show. Zuki in the house saying, not missing it this time. Fred in the house. Fred J. Thanks for sticking with us, my friend. Welcome. Episode number 22, like I said. So, yeah. 4 Avs playoff games since we last had episode number 21, which was just last Wednesday. And so we aired that episode. It has been a week.
Hasn't been a great week for the Avalanche, though.
They won game 2, but we'll get to that. So they shouldn't have. I was as surprised as anybody, but anyway, so yes, I stayed up late. I stayed up till 11 watching game 2. And then I looked at my girlfriend. We're both staying up. We both get up at 5 a.m. for our day jobs. And we go, okay, overtime could last a long time. Let's go to bed. And of course it didn't. Mikko Rantanen ended up making sure that the overtimes didn't pile up or anything like that. But, yeah, we will get to all that. But yeah, we recorded last Wednesday. There was a game that evening, and then there was a game Friday night, game Sunday night, game Tuesday night. So every 2 days, boom, boom, boom. And yeah, here we are looking at game 6. Vegas is up 3-2. Again, I'm jumping ahead. I want to do first things first, because that's something I want to stick to. I know we've got this whole docket of Avs stuff to talk about, but I wanted to get to first things first because this is Front Range Hockey, and I do want to cover the ECHL affiliate of the Avalanche as well. Try to give some Utah Grizzlies love in here, of course. There are a lot of people that follow our account, that follow my personal account, that are Grizzlies fans as well. So here it is. The Grizzlies, Matthew Boucher, forward, rookie of the year in the ECHL for the Utah Grizzlies. Hot diggity damn. That's some good news coming out of West Valley City there in Utah. 2 seasons with the University of New Brunswick. He comes to Utah, the Los Angeles, California native, as we know, hotbed for hockey prospects. Los Angeles, California.
It's getting there for sure.
Yeah, the Kings have been there forever. I kind of, there was a goalie I covered in Idaho, Thomas Scholl. He was from Hermosa Beach, California. And I would always say the hockey hotbed of Hermosa Beach. But yeah, anyway, California does have its hockey prospects. I shouldn't be completely dismissive. Well, not dismissive, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so Matthew Boucher, rookie of the year for the ECHL after 2 seasons, University of Brunswick, 25 goals, 27 assists for 52 total points in 57 games, almost a point per game clip for a rookie. I don't care what level you play at. Excuse me.
It's pretty damn good.
That is very damn good. So kudos to him, Mr. Boucher, for winning rookie of the year in the ECHL. Grizzlies started their postseason last night as well against the Allen Americans, the first seed in the Western Conference. Grizzlies had the fourth seed. They waited until the 11th hour to clinch that 4th and final spot there in the West. And Allen coming out strong and beating them 3-1 in the best of 5 series. So Utah behind the 8 ball. They will play game 2 tonight. By the way, it's June 9th, 2021, Wednesday. It is Wednesday, my dudes. So always, well, not always, but most of the time we're here on Wednesdays. So, but yes, had to give some Grizzlies love because hot damn, rookie of the year. That is an accolade to be proud of for the Grizzlies. And yeah, had to first things first, had to take care of that.
I like that you started with a positive note, because I have a feeling this this podcast is going to go downhill real quick when we start talking about the Avalanche, but
it will. And I did want to slide one more thing in there, since you and I talked about it, and you saw it on Twitter, I saw it on Twitter, but we had talked about how in the hell the Scotia North Division, or the Canadian Division, colloquial, was going to operate with the border issue, with the international border issue between the United States and Canada with the global pandemic. And we actually got CBC News. The federal government, the Canadian federal government, approved a travel exemption for the final 2 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs that would allow NHL teams to cross the Canada-US border without quarantining. Players and club personnel will be subject to enhanced personal health measures. NHL players and team personnel will cross the border using private planes, and will be subject to pre- and post-arrival testing in addition to daily COVID-19 tests. The players will have to live in a modified quarantine bubble, and there will be no contact with the general public. So, a traveling bubble, if you will, for the Montreal Canadiens, who punched their ticket to the final. I guess it's the Western Conference final. I mean,
yeah, it's a weird hybrid, I guess, we're rolling with this year, which, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later too, as to why the Avalanche are struggling here, but how it's not that bad, really,
it's not. It's I mean, especially game 5, there was a lot. When you play against a goalie, the ilk of Marc-Andre Fleury, the Pittsburgh Penguins are still kicking themselves to this day for going all in on Matt Murray, and not keeping Marc-Andre Fleury. They should have. Maybe they exposed the wrong goalie. I mean, he still continues to perform at an elite level, but as I'm ought to do, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's talk about these 4 games, and then we'll rewind. We'll break it down. We'll talk about these instances, but yes, let's talk about the Avalanche. 4 games since our last episode. Strap in. Here we go. I'm going to try and Reader's Digest this bitch as much as I can. Just it's like when you were a kid and you had the magazines on the back of the toilet bowl. You had your Sports Illustrated, you had your Reader's Digest, and you had maybe guideposts. Maybe, I don't know, depending on what household you grew up in. But maybe guideposts, maybe a Playboy. I don't know.
You beat me to it. I was gonna say.
Good. Well, I'm glad we were on the same page there for sure. All right, so let's talk about Game 2, Wednesday, June 2nd. Man, again, the Avs did not deserve to win this one. They snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, 3-2 overtime victory after Mikko Rantanen scored the game-winning goal 2 minutes and 7 seconds into the extra frame. Grubauer, of course, had to stand on his head. Vegas is just lobbing so many shots at the Avalanche this series. Again, getting ahead of myself. Rein it in, CC. Grubauer had to stop 39 pucks on 41 shots on goal for the Avs to emerge victorious in Game 2. They took a 2-0 series lead, and then Game 3, Friday, June 4th, the Avs had a 2-1 lead until about 5 minutes left in the third when Jonathan Marchessault initially whiffed on a shot. I had to go back and watch this. I thought he actually made contact and put the puck off of Grubauer's leg pad. No, he whiffed on the shot, and the puck kind of drifted behind the goal line, and so Marchessault banks the shot off of what looked like Grubauer's backside, like lower left hip. And then the game-winning goal came 45 seconds later. Little foreshadowing here, because this definitely kind of happened in Game 5 as well. Max Pacioretty deflected Nick Holden's shot low from the point. Grubauer tried to play it high. It went through his flat 5-hole. He was going to play it high, and Pacioretty, boom, deflected it low. 3-2 victory, Vegas. 40 saves for Grubauer. Yeah, you can't let your goalie face that many shots. Moving on to Game 4. Again, trying to run through this as quick as I can. Sunday, June 6th, Marchessault nets himself a hat trick. Boy, is he having a hot postseason, and especially this series against the Avalanche. William Karlsson had 3 assists. And of course, Marc-Andre Fleury, the overwhelming, overbearing workload of only 19 saves on 20 shots. Vegas handled Colorado 5-1 this game. Real quick, Brandon Saad, he opened up scoring for the Avalanche 1 minute and 50 seconds in the first. Good start. But then it was all Vegas. Patrick Nemeth, it was heartbreaking. He had a rough game. He zigged when he should have zagged behind the net, turned the puck over. Riley Smith stole it, hit the post on the shot that everyone thought went in. I mean, the players, the fans, everyone thought that puck went in, but it did not. It hit the post. The rebound went into the corner. and Riley Smith stole the puck. Or sorry, no, Carlson stole the puck. Going back to Riley Smith. Sorry, Carlson stole the puck, fed it to Marcia Show for his first of 3 on the night. Again, the final score is 5-1. I don't need to go into too much detail. Vegas just pretty much ran after that Brandon Saad goal. Last but not least, Scott, Game 5, Tuesday, June 8th, last night. Guess who kicked off scoring again? The Saad father. Take the puck, leave the cannoli. The Saad father himself kicked off scoring again with a buzzer beater. He was coming down the left wing. There's about 5 seconds left. He just, he looked up at the clock. It was great awareness on his part. He looks up at the clock, goes in, shoots it high on Marc-Andre Fleury. He tries to grab it with his glove, should have blocked it with his blocker, but just goes right over his shoulder. And you could tell he was like, oh, man. Just completely bummed, beside himself. Avs go up 1-0 at the end of the first period. And then Alex Newhook, the youngster, feeding Jonas Donskoy, dropping to one knee, getting the one-timer, making it 2-0 at 16:28 of the second period. Hey, 2 periods of play. Avs got a 2-0 lead. So far, so good, right? No, not so much. Within the span of 3 minutes, in the first 4 minutes of the third, that lead completely evaporated. Boom, Alex Tuck goal. Boom, Marcia Show. Like I said, coming back, having himself a hell of a series against the Avalanche. He had a goal on the doorstep after a Royal Road pass got Grubauer out of position. Just boom, right to him on the doorstep. Game goes to overtime. Graves, shoots a couple of pucks right at the shins. I saw a little bit of critique, a little bit of anger on social media about his shot selection there. But yeah, Mark Stone, the captain, El Capitan. Yeah, he steals the puck on the breakaway, and Mark Stone doing Mark Stone things, sealing the game, being the leader on the ice that he needed to be. And that was it. Avs blow a 2-0 lead after 2 periods. Vegas wins 3-2 at Ball Arena there in Denver. I've set the table.
Exactly.
Are you ready to eat? Because this is a shitty meal. This is a shitty meal, my friend. But no. The Avs, again, I'll bring it up like I brought it up earlier. Marc-Andre Fleury. There is a reason. You have 2 Vezina candidates from this season going against each other. Andrei Vasilevsky is out, shutting down Carolina in the Eastern Conference, but you've got the other 2 Vezina candidates going against each other here in the Western Conference semifinals. So, I mean, thoughts? Where do you start? Where do you start with all this?
Well, I will say, like the saying goes, you're not in trouble until you lose at home. And last night, obviously, I think it goes without saying that the Avs are in trouble. It's you put up your best performance since game 1, and I think probably their most complete performance, one of the most complete performances of the entire playoffs, and you still find a way to lose, and it's tough. I think the Avs deserve better that game. Again, I think it was the best game they played all series. Even beating out the 7-1 game, I think they caught Vegas on their heels a little bit. Maybe they were tired, didn't know what to expect, but I think some complacency settled in after game 1, and trouncing them 7-1. And I knew damn well the series wasn't over. I've been saying the whole time it was going to be Vegas in 7, and it might be Vegas in 6 at this rate. But I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. They've been severely outplayed, outworked. Outworked is the biggest part of it. And the writing was kind of on the wall too. Like the biggest thing is, we've been saying it on the podcast. We can go back and listen to some of these, and then go see that we talked about how the Avs lack that physicality. Go back to the trade deadline podcast where they didn't really make any moves other than bringing back Patrick Nemeth and Carl Soderberg, but they're still lacking that killer instinct kind of player, that guy that's willing to step in and play physical. And yeah, they're going to get their ass kicked by Vegas. The writing was kind of on the wall. And unfortunately, the way the playoffs were formatted this year, this should have been a Western Conference final. These should have been, 2 of the Final 4 teams pitted against each other. And, I think people would be far less disappointed than they are now because, on a surface level, it looks like, you know, they're going to bow out of the second round for the third straight year in a row. Everyone's chanting, you know, fire Jared Bednar, bench Nathan McKinnon, just blow up the team, keep McKinnon, McCarr, and like fuck everybody else. It's, you know, I think if this were a normal year, a normal playoff system, that would have been the final 4 teams, and it would have been a different story. You know, they would have made it to a Western Conference final. It would have been the furthest they've made it in years, you know, since 2001, whatever. It would have been the furthest Jared Bednar's made it. He would have silenced the critics there. Yes, they were Stanley Cup favorites, but the Stanley Cup favorites never win. That's how it is, unfortunately. And, you know, I think people put too much pride into that. And, you know, you should have known better that, yeah, they're the odds-on favorites all season long. And they played like shit at the beginning of the year, but, you know, then they played like they were the number 1 team in the NHL after that first month. And they finished that way. They won their first President's Trophy since 2001. And, you know, that was the last year they won the Stanley Cup, and they looked great. But, you know, the regular season doesn't count for anything. It's easy to win. It's easy to have off nights in the playoffs and catch other teams on off nights. And, you know, they got the edge on Vegas during the regular season, but, you know, barely. And, you know, I just don't think the Avalanche are built like a playoff team. And we've been saying it for a while, and they lack that physicality. And it's, you know, I don't even know the word to say. Like, I don't want to say pretty boys, but, you know, that's kind of, they're all speed and flash and pizzazz, and you can't touch me because I'm skating around you. And again, that's great during the regular season, but, you know, it's do or die and in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's what the Avalanche lack. And Vegas is a big ass team. They're a mean team, and they're gritty, and they don't back down from anything. And look, I mean, they're playing at altitude and charged up, you know, Ball Arena last year that claims to be 10,500 strong, but it was far more than that. So I don't know how they're counting that, but whatever, that's a different story. And they went down 2-0. I mean, the Avs were kicking their ass. They had their backs against the wall. They were playing great. Again, I think it was the best game they played all series long, and the most complete performance. It looked like everyone wanted it for the first time in a long time, and Vegas still found a way to come back. And that's that killer instinct that that the Avalanche lack.
David Nola 985_ says Avs have more hits than Vegas, so the narrative that they aren't physical enough is BS.
Last night they did.
Last night they did. Yes. So
Vegas leads the postseason in most hits per game. The Avalanche are dead last out of 16 teams.
Yeah, Dave chiming in again. Avs 41 hits, Vegas 31 yesterday. They did. They increased their physicality, and I have been a proponent of the Liam O'Brien train because he is one of those guys that brings that grit, that brings that, you know, that I thought was going to be brought into this series at some point in time. But Bednar, I don't think Bednar, he shook up the lines. And I think he did a great job doing it as well, putting Saad on the top line with how hot he is. I mean, there's a reason that I named this episode Saad So Saad. You know, that's what I have to name the episode before we go live on YouTube, is because he's got 6 goals in 7 games. Like, he has been the light for the Avalanche while that top line has struggled. So what the hell? Why not put him on the top line? And then they bumped Landeskog, I believe, down to the second line, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Scott?
Yep.
Yeah. So there were adjustments made. The Avs came out, they played 40 minutes of hockey, and then they shat the bed for those first 3 minutes, or, you know, and they let Vegas run over them. And it's those simple mistakes that's going to bite them in the ass. And Durf Zuki, Scott, I did want to bring this up. You said that kind of killer instinct. He's kind of young right now, but give him a year or two, he can be probably one of the leaders in the Avalanche locker room for that killer instinct. LOC was amazing last night, and I agree. My God, he was all over the. Yeah, Scott knows. I know. We know. You're preaching to the choir for sure. So, David Nola, real quick, both teams had 50 hits in Game 3. That's kind of surprising. I didn't expect that, but yeah, increased physicality. I will say, Game 2, Avs 21 hits, Knights 22. So, I think for me personally, Scott. Before we go on the LOC tirade not tirade, but rant, it's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. Mostly tirades, I guess, are negative things, but the fact that Vegas is playing with purpose and playing with passion. It's not necessarily a physicality thing, because Ryan Reeves, your main physical guy, has been out. But Vegas has put in the body, and the Avs have responded by finishing their checks and things like that. But it's an outworking thing, and it's capitalizing on the chances and the mistakes that the Avs are making. They made just a handful of mistakes in the beginning of that third period in Game 5, and look what happened. Boom, 2 goals. That's the thing, is like, you give Vegas an inch and they're going to take a mile.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So, when I say the Avs lack the physicality, I'm not necessarily saying, they're out hitting them or whatever. That's one aspect of the game. That's a tangible, form of physicality. But at the end of the day, Vegas smothers the Avalanche every time they have the puck. The Avalanche do not smother Vegas every time they have the puck. There's a couple select players on the team that can forecheck, and they forecheck really well, but unfortunately they can't play 60 minutes a night. And they're only playing, 12 to 15 minutes a night. We can go up and down the lineup and kind of criticize a lot of the guys, but at the end of the day, it's a team effort. And you look at the Vegas lines, and there's a guy on every single line who's big and who hounds the puck. They have D-men that, Pietrangelo has blocked every fucking shot that the Avalanche have shot at the net.
Oh God.
And he breaks up every single pass that's, shot at the net. Like, it's ridiculous. And the Avalanche just lack that. And I think we're seeing, that in the postseason, that's all, elevated and ramped up. And the Avs got by with their speed, and they're a very skilled team, the most skilled team in the NHL, in my opinion, and the best offensive team in my opinion. But defense wins championships, and that's the case in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And it's old school hockey. The Avs play a new brand of hockey where it's fun, it's exciting, it's we're getting fast paced, and that's awesome. That's great. They score a lot of goals, but you're not going to score like 5, 6, 7 goals a night in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because there are the team. They're in its desperation mode, and you're putting your body on the line. You're blocking every single shot, like Vegas is, that's going towards your net, and you're finishing your checks. You're smothering pucks. You're gassed every single shift because you're just hounding. If you don't have the puck, you're going to go get it. And the Avs have not had that. They've had it for 2 games out of this 5 so far, and that's why it's a 3-2 series. I think unfortunately we saw that last night. I thought they played great. They were playing that kind of brand of hockey. They elevated their physical play. Like David just pointed out, they out hit them, and that's great. I thought they looked great, and then costly mistakes, which has been the case all series long. Whether it was Patrick Nemeth in Game 4, just giving a beautiful tape-to-tape pass to the Vegas guy in front of the net, that turned the game around. Andre Burakovsky made a stupid mistake, last night. Gabe Landeskog, he, threw a bad pass in the middle of the ice, and Vegas tied it, took advantage. And again, we can look at the game winner. Ryan Graves, chucked 2 pucks at the net. Both of them were blocked, and then it was going the other way. Mark Stone breakaway, and that's that. Those are the kind of, again, when I say physicality, it's just they're a presence on the ice. The Avalanche are not a presence on the ice, at least for not a majority of the game. And Vegas you can't get an inch of space on them.
Yeah, and David chimed in again. Great teams capitalize on mistakes, and that's exactly what Vegas did. And Marc-Andre Fleury has stifled the mistakes. He has read Mikko Rantanen. Mikko, on the doorstep in Game 5, juggling that puck a little bit. If he has even the most minute control of that puck and puts it in the net, he had a yawning net in front of him. But yeah, we could go on and on about, that's the thing. Again, before we get to Logan OConnor and the hustle that he brings and everything like that, the fact that Vegas, like you said, they clog up the Avalanche, they get the puck out of their zone, they clog up the neutral zone, but they keep the puck in the Avalanche zone, and they're having these guys gassed. Like you said, that is the main thing that I've noticed, is that they run these guys into the ground minute 30, 2-minute shifts, and they are tired. And that's where they get the Avs to make the mistakes as well. Unless they're just running it down their throat, like at the beginning of the third period in Game 5, that's when they completely, that's,
that's the thing that causes, we'll call them panic plays. Like that's, when they're smothering you like Vegas has every single game, you have split second to make a decision, and the Avs are unfortunately making the wrong decisions, and they're making mistakes. And it's like Burakovsky. We'll take last night, the most recent example. He had two guys bearing down on him, and instead of just making the easy play up the boards, he went, for whatever reason, tried to make the nice pass, in the middle of the ice. And again, people are blaming Bednar for these mistakes. Like it's his fault. When we can get into the whole Bednar situation,
Sure.
He's not getting fired at the end of this year. I don't know, he has 1 year left on his contract. Everyone wants to get rid of him. That's the easy, coward's way out, in my opinion. And it's it's been dominating all of our Twitter feeds for the last few games. And like, I get it. Again, it's you can't fire the whole team, so you fire the coach and shake things up. But I don't think that's the answer. Again, we would be singing a different tune right now if this were a regular, Stanley Cup playoff, and it would have been Vegas and Colorado in the Western Conference Finals. They would have been one of the final four teams. That would have been the furthest they've ever made it, in the Jared Bednar era in the last 5-6 years. And it would have been, again, like, it would okay, give him 1 more year. Like, we did better than we did last year. And that's what it's about. Like, that's about improving. So right now, I think what a lot of people see is just like, oh, here we go for the 3rd straight year, second round exit. And we can even say that they're not even going to make it as far. Like, if they lose game 6 tomorrow, they'll have played exactly 1 fewer games in the playoffs than they did the last 2 years. So you might think of that as a step back, but they haven't had to play Vegas in the second round ever. So, and they shouldn't have to. And that's the thing that sucks, this path to the Stanley Cup. Like, I mean, whoever gets Montreal, they're going to kick the shit out of Montreal, next round. It's a weird playoff. I'm sure, the Avs would do just fine against Montreal. And it, again, like, it should just be, let's blame it on the playoff system. Don't blame it on Jared Bednar. I think he's done all he can. He's made some adjustments. The Avs are stacked, but Vegas, they're a better playoff team. And I guess there is no answer right now. The only answer is, learn from your mistakes. And I'm not sure there's one player out there that, they can go out and get. They don't have the cap space to do that anyway. It's just, I guess you gotta teach them better. So maybe it is, a coaching issue, I guess. If you want to pin it down on that, it's like the Avs lack that physicality. But I know, just sitting in on practices and talking to Coach Bednar, like, that's what he preaches. And he yells at guys every single practice for not finishing their checks and not doing this. And, like, there's some Avs players that are soft and they don't play physical enough. And it's unfortunate. Bednar is going to get the blame for that. But I'm telling you, he's coaching, he's teaching the right systems. And they're unfortunately just not being implemented. Like, those split second, mistakes that have costed the Avalanche, by a lot. Like, I'm telling you, like, Bednar is telling these guys to go up the boards always. No coach will ever tell you to go up the middle of the ice. Patrick Nemeth, middle of the ice, right in front of your net. What are you doing? Like, you need to, ring that around, like, the end boards. Same thing with, Landeskog was less egregious, I guess. He was trying to make a nice pass. It was like a 3-on-2, and it bounced off Graves' skate.
It was. I think. Yeah, he was supposed to go to maybe Comfer. I don't know. It was
like, he could have just
behind him.
And that's the other thing too. It's like pucks on net. That's something Bednar preaches every goddamn day too. Is just shoot the fucking puck. And, like, you see what happens. Brendan Saad's goal with 0.8 seconds left in the first period. Just shoot good things happen when you shoot the puck. And he's preaching that in every single practice. But the Avs are, for whatever reason, anytime they get in the offensive zone, they're trying to, make the pretty play and hang on to the puck for too long. And Coach Bednar addresses that after every single, game. It's like, we keep trying to make the perfect play. And I'm telling my guys to just throw it at the net, and good things happen when you do that, but they still refuse to do that. And, you can blame whoever you want to on that, but, he's coaching these guys the right way, I think. And I think the Avalanche, the players themselves, are panicking in the moment, and they're making the wrong plays. And Vegas capitalizes on mistakes. Good teams capitalize on mistakes. Vegas hasn't made any mistakes yet. Like, so the Avs haven't had the opportunity to, really capitalize on them.
Unless you count Fleury's gaff at the end of the first.
Right.
I mean, that was a big mistake on his part, but team-wise,
but that wasn't like a bad pass, a stupid pass. They're always, if you look at them, like, don't watch the Avalanche for a shift. Next game, just watch Vegas play, a couple shifts in a row. Like, don't even put your eyes on anyone that's holding the puck, and watch what the other 4 guys are doing that aren't attacking the puck carrier. It's like they're getting to their positions in the ice. They're, hounding on. There's 2 guys. As soon as they get in the neutral zone, there's like 2 guys going after the puck carrier. They're getting it back. They're chipping it up the boards, and that's that. Like, the Avalanche don't do that, and that's, I don't know what to say. It's again, like all I'll say is just watch Vegas. I know it's gonna be tough to watch Vegas. You don't like Vegas, but just watch what they do if you guys haven't already, and they are incredible at just smothering whoever's carrying the puck and just getting the puck out of the zone the right way. Like it's, right. And that's something the Avalanche have failed to do. And they're going up the middle of the ice, which is, every coach's nightmare. Every coach will tell you that since you're a peewee, up the boards, always go up the boards, never go through the middle of the ice. And you look at some of these mistakes that have been costly and they're going up the ice. And that's not something that's coached. That's not something that's Jared Bednar's fault. That's just players panicking. And Vegas is a big team. They're afraid to get hit. And they're, just chipping it up, making stupid plays.
Dave says they use their sticks well to deny entry at the blue line. Dave also said earlier, if you're not watching here live on YouTube and you're just in the audio format later on, he said, I do wish they would just play Byram or McDonald or both. To wrap this up, Scott, what adjustments do the Avs need to make? In your opinion, I mean, Logan OConnor, putting him in the lineup, that injected a little fire, a little fury, as it were. But game 6, do you see Coach Bednar making any more tinkering with the lines?
I think you should go for the same lines. I liked all those lines. I thought the Saad McKinnon line, they played pretty well. I thought I really like that second line, Landeskog and Comfer. I thought that was Comfer's best game of the entire playoffs. And I don't say that very often, but I think he needs a guy like Landeskog, the captain of the team, really kind of, leading the charge and maybe trying to impress him a little bit. I don't know what it is, but I thought that was their best game. I like Nichushkin on that line as well. The fourth line, I think, was great. Putting Donskoy all the way down there was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked them all. I thought Tyson Jost was great. Yeah, I mean, it is that's the adjustment, I guess. And again,
there's a word, adjustment. Joseph Wills.
That's the in vogue word to say as a Coach Bednar never makes any adjustments. Look at Pete DeBoer, like he's making all these adjustments. He hasn't changed his lines a single time. Mm-mm. Like they just play the right way, and they, everyone's thinking it's like he made adjustments after game 1 and the Avs kicked the shit out of them. It's like, no, he didn't. Vegas just was caught sleeping and gave the Avalanche the momentum, which is everything in the postseason. And then, game 2, they realized their mistake and they got back to playing Vegas hockey. There was no adjustments that were made. Maybe he yelled at them, I don't even think he yelled at them. I think after, game 1, he's like, we'll come out better in game 2. We'll come out and play like our usual game. They caught us sleeping and, that's that. And they sure as shit came back. They came back and played their game, and Vegas's game hasn't changed. There really has not been any adjustments on their end. They've been doing the same thing they've been doing against the Avalanche all season long, and it's working, and it always has worked. And Bednar is trying to make adjustments. He's trying to switch up the lines. He's, getting back to the basics and playing the right way. And they're, just not executing. I guess executing is what's lacking. And, coaches don't execute. The players are the ones that execute. The coaches implement. And he's done that. So.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Game 6, Colorado at Vegas. T-Mobile Arena in Paradise, Nevada. Las Vegas, but Paradise technically. Fun little fact there. If you don't know what that's all about, go look it up. But anyway, game 6, Avs down 3-2. They go to Vegas for game 6. If they take that one, they go game 7, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Game 6 on Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Pacific. Daylight time, right, Scott?
MDT. Haven't made that mistake since we talked about it last week.
Nope. Dropping the knowledge on Scott, that's for sure. Well, hey, we've got a live read again, sponsored by @DesktopPenguin on Twitter. He keeps giving us money, so we're going to keep reading about Newfoundland. So give us just a moment here. Hello again to all of the Newfoundland and Labrador fans listening to the podcast. Do you wake up every morning hungry and or thirsty? Does this same feeling strike again around noon? I bet you get really irritated when it happens again at night. I'm sure it seems like our bodies require a lot of food and drinks to function. Well, if you find yourself stricken with these burdens while traveling through the breathtaking landscapes of Newfoundland, then I've got just the place. Make your way down to George Street George Street in downtown St. John's is 2 blocks of nothing but bars, pubs, and restaurants. Looking for vegetarian options? I have no idea if any of these places can accommodate, but I have to assume most will at least have some carrot sticks and or celery sticks that come with their wings. Most beer is vegetarian, right? The world is starting to open up again, so it's the perfect time to book your flight to Newfoundland and visit George Street in downtown St. John's. You can follow up on all of these vegetarian questions and report back to the pod, so my next ad can be that much more factually accurate. Make sure to clear your schedules this Thursday to cheer on Alex Newhook and our Avs as they fight to bring the series back to Denver for what can only be the greatest Game 7 to ever be played. Hashtag Go Avs Go. Once again, that ad read from @DesktopPenguin. Thank you very much for supporting the podcast and also boosting the brand of Newfoundland and Labrador and especially St. John's, because I've heard nothing but good things about that city. I don't know what the travel restrictions look like, but that was pretty convincing. And yeah, check it out. Maybe you can fly there, maybe not. I know, that US-Canada border is a little tight right now. So anyway, thank you once again. So live read done. I'm used to that. It's a weird thing to have a paid live read.
I hope we get more. Yeah.
I hope we get more too. So if you have anything that you want to sponsor, Venmo, PayPal us some money, and we'll say it on the show, within reason. It has within reason. It has to be, within reason. But let's move on real quick. We're 36 minutes into the show. We don't want to go too long before we get to asking the feed. So Colorado Eagles news. Matthew Boucher winning the Rookie of the Year in the ECHL with the Utah Grizzlies. Kind of a big surprise for me. TJ Tynan getting the AHL MVP award, the Les Cunningham Award. TJ Tynan. And little stats capsule here. 29 years old, drafted 3rd round, 66th overall by the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2011. 8th year in the AHL. He's been around a minute. 27 games played this year, 8 goals, 27 assists, 35 points. That is, of course, above a point per game clip. Here's what really stood out to me. 2 goals plus 12 assists for 14 total power play points. The man had 12 power play assists this season. And you can credit Kiefer Sherwood because they had some great chemistry when those two were playing together there in Loveland. But analytics-wise, the analytics model that my good friend Sean O'Brien over at the Calder Farmstead has compiled the data, 3.311 point shares. That's good for the 94th percentile amongst AHL skaters. In layman terms, really, really good. And first line forward projection on that analytics model as well. Durfsuki says CBJ connection again. Way to go, TJ. So,
yeah, if you haven't noticed, the Avalanche definitely they have some ties with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
They do.
Yeah, Chris McFarland spent some time in that organization. He was the GM there for a little bit. Now, of course, the assistant GM of the Avalanche, and might get stolen from the Avalanche here soon. Almost did in Pittsburgh earlier this year. Coach Bednar coached in the organization for a little bit. There's some former players, obviously Matt Calvert, TJ Tynan. Yeah, they have some roots in Columbus.
They do. Kind of an interesting little. It's kind of like the Avs in the Nord, or the Avs in the Nordiques, of course, the Avs and the Canadiens. It's like it was a prerequisite for a number of years there, where you had to play for the Avs and the Canadiens if you played for one or the other. Just a number of different goaltenders. Peter Budaj, Jose Theodore, obviously Patrick Waugh started it all. And then of course a lot of Canadiens and Nordiques players. Same province they played in between those teams as well. So anyway, just an observation there. That would be kind of interesting if the Avs did get Montreal. But again, Game 6, we won't get ahead of ourselves. One game at a time.
Yeah.
Some other Eagles news, just a small little note here. Kevin Davis, defenseman between Utah and Colorado the past 3 seasons. He is going overseas in 21-22. He's going to go play in Norway. And if I'm not mistaken, Eagles and Grizzlies fans, he's going to be teammates with a guy by the name of Tim McGauley, if you remember him. So pretty good skater at that level.
There's some other news. I don't know if you caught this, but I tweeted it out. It's not getting too much attention, but the Avs kind of just quietly, they've been in on the Benjamin Tardi sweepstakes, I guess, who recently was played for Victoriaville, won the QMJHL playoff MVP, scored 11 goals and 22 points in 19 games for Victoriaville, and the Avs just snagged him. It was between the Avalanche and the Canadians, but the Canadians were only going to offer a AHL, ECHL contract, and the Avs actually offered him a 2-year AHL contract. So he will be joining the Colorado Eagles next season, and he's a stud. He's like he's small. He's 5'10", but he's like 192 pounds, and he puts up points and he fights. So I like him. He's a scrappy guy, but he's got an offensive upside too.
That's a quality acquisition. I saw you tweet that out, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, that I totally missed that. That fell through the cracks. I mean, I'm trying to keep my finger on the pulse of the whole AHL. You know, the way I view it,
yeah,
like
you got a busier job. I write for like one team. You cover like 30, so
31. But who's counting?
Clearly you. So
clearly you. No, I just had to go double check and make sure that yeah, Tim McGauley was going to be on. I
don't know how to pronounce, but it was like starts with like an S. Sturgeon.
Stiernan hockey.
I think we nailed that. We nailed that one.
Nailed it. Roster. Here we go. Okay. Maybe he's not on this roster for this season. I am mistaken. I think he might have played there in 2021. Yes, he did. Now where is he at? Because he's not on the active roster, quote unquote, for 20. Oh, he's in Innsbruck in Austria. That's where Tim McGauley is for 21-22. So I am mistaken. I am sorry. I make mistakes occasionally, but no, real quick, let's finish up the Eagles. So I thought that the Eagles were going to go to the Central Division for 21-22 because Abbotsford is getting a team again. The Utica Comets, owned by the Vancouver Canucks, have been relocated to Abbotsford, British Columbia, and the Binghamton Devils have been relocated to Utica to become the Utica Comets. So not confusing at all with franchises and everything, but with British Columbia getting a team, that means the Pacific Division got another team. So I'm thinking to myself, the Eagles have to be going to the Central Division this year. No. The Pacific Division has 9 teams. You have 2 divisions that have 7 teams, 1 division that has 8 teams, and 1 division that has 9 teams. And then Palm Springs comes into the league in 22-23. So you're going to have 10 teams out there. But my thought is that Colorado and Tucson are going to get bumped over to the Central. That's what I'm thinking.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. In 22-23.
Next season. Yeah.
Next season. I like that. So the Eagles remaining in the Pacific Division. Stockton comes back after a 1-year respite up in the Canadian Division. Canadian Division, one and done. No more. It's going to be Pacific, North, Atlantic, and the Central Division. So there you go. That's a little divisional alignment. And Abbotsford going to be a new Pacific Division foe for the Eagles. Still haven't announced a nickname, but you mentioned Tardif real quick, and they offered him only an AHL, ECHL 2-way contract. But yeah, I'm sorry. I need to get my French Canadian accent in line. Trois-Rivières, their ECHL team is going to be revealing their nickname tomorrow. Just a sidebar. I'm random. It happens. But
that was good French, by the way. That was pretty.
It was okay. I'm more of a Spanish speaker as a somewhat secondary language, but Thank you kindly. Thank you.
Sure.
Last but not least, the Eagles announced recently that they will be at 100% capacity on October 22nd when they go to opening weekend. So, woo!
Nature is healing.
Nature is healing. Good to hear. Good to hear. Okay. Joseph on Tardif says another small player. There's a lot of A's, B's, and H's in there, so I had to embellish it. Marie Sexton says switching divisions seemed like a slam dunk, but yes, hopefully to the Central after this season, though. Fingers crossed emoji. And last but not least, before we go and finish up Colorado Collegiate Hockey, he said, well said. Très bien. Très bien. Awesome.
Did you take any French? Like, is that?
No,
Oh, okay.
I did not. Nope. I took 2 years of Spanish in 9th and 10th grade. So, and Marie says yes for 100% capacity at the BEC. Woo! All
Pumped.
Right. Pumped. That's going to be great. That's going to be such a good opening weekend. Scott, are we going to actually meet like that weekend, or are we going to do something during the summer? Let's go. Seriously, I work 8 minutes from Station 26. Let's just meet up there. That seems like a good. What's that?
So let's grab a beer. Yeah.
Let's grab a beer sometime. And we need to bring our friends. We need to bring the friends along that are here in the Denver area and throw kind of a.
I see. We should have like some sort of like meetup. I think like postseason meetup. I was hoping it was going to be like Stanley Cup champion meetup, but and hey, I mean, knock on wood, like season's not over yet, but
right.
We'll see. But yeah, let's work something out.
Yeah, I'm down for it, and we'll align something for sure.
Yeah.
Let's seg to the only collegiate news that I found this past week, because signings have gone silent for DU, for Colorado College, and for Air Force. So, but today the hockey gods gave us a gift in the re-signing of Chris Wilkie. Rockford locking him up for a 1-year AHL deal after his rookie season with the Ice Hogs, and his stats were pretty impressive. 22 games played, 8 goals, 5 assists for 13 points total, and a +6 rating. Not too shabby. And 23 penalty minutes. That's not bad for 22 games. Not too bad at all. So Chris Wilkie returning to Rockford, Colorado College product. There you have it. That's all the collegiate news I have.
It's that time of year.
Anything? That's that time of year. It really is.
Nothing to talk until like September now at this point, but
exactly.
We'll find something.
It's time for our favorite segment. We need transition music badly.
We'll get that.
Like some asking the feed.
A little more intense than I was thinking, but yeah. We'll strategize. We'll think of something.
I'm just spitballing here. Scott's like, no, veto. Let's move.
Pass.
Pass. Hard pass. Hard no. Asking the feed. Our favorite segment of the program, because we get to talk to the people. It's going to be a wonderful question and answer segment like we always have. And first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with this. Gil Manklang, one of our favorites, one of our regulars here on the program. Most overrated TV series and most underrated TV series. Scott, you've had a number of hours to think on this.
I know, and I didn't really think about it like at all. You go ahead, and I'll come with something.
Okay. I am going to get some ire for this, draw some ire for this, I'm sure. But the most overrated TV series, I think, is Friends.
Oh, dude, damn it, you stole mine. I was literally going to say that. I was like, I don't know if I should say it because like people are going to be pissed off about that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like it was never my thing.
We can be in agreement with that. I mean,
that's mine too.
That's fair. I mean, it's kind of a general consensus. Friends. I don't know. It's enjoyable. I like Joey Tribbiani. Kind of the stereotypical Italian dolt. How you doing? And there's some good parts to it, but I think it's severely overrated. Underrated. I'm going to say a series that I didn't get into until recently, but ended a while ago now. And I think that's New Girl.
Yes. I would say,
yeah,
it's definitely like more in vogue now, like for sure. Mm-hmm. Like I was going to say, I guess I was late to the Schitt's Creek train, but
okay.
That's one that like I just recently finished up. It's like, damn, this is hilarious. And I would say it was like,
seen it.
It was pretty underrated because I mean, like, it's not underrated now because again, it's so in vogue and like everyone's watching it, like binged it over the last 6 months or whatever. And but I think the show's pretty old. Like it came out many years ago on like just some small station in Canada, and now like Netflix picked it up and now it like blew up. So I'd say it's underrated. Overrated, I'm with you on Friends. That and like honestly, like any like just shitty Fox like sitcom or like CBS. NBC, like whoever's like broadcasting it, like Big Bang Theory. Why does anyone watch that? I'm pretty sure it's like one of the most successful shows like on like network television. Do you watch it? Oh my God! See,
I do watch it. And I'm a nerd, Scott. I enjoy nerdy
I guess
humor.
like that's kind of the contingent of people that enjoy it, and I mean I'm a nerd in my own respect too, but I
Sure.
just like the humor is not there for me. I don't know Sheldon. I don't think Sheldon's funny, but whatever. That's
The thing is, being inside those circles, like I've met those people in real life. Like I've
right.
literally met and it's so the caricatures that are represented on the Big Bang Theory. I can see why you think it's overrated though. Joseph Wills, Seinfeld overrated.
Never got into that one either.
Okay. See, that's another one of my favorites too. See, we could go on. We could go on and on.
What's your like favorite? Like I'll go.
Favorite?
Like I would say, like I could watch The Office, and I have watched The Office at least a dozen plus times front and back. And there's a lot of episodes, but I've seen it all the way through, and like I could pick it up like as soon as I end it, like on season 9 or whatever. Like I'm back to season 1, episode 1, and then I'll just start it again. And that to me that's a great show.
See, I never, until I started dating my girlfriend a couple of years ago, I never really got into TV shows that much. Just wasn't really my thing. Okay. So, but my favorite, like she's, we're watching through Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like I said about New Girl, we watched through all of that. Game of Thrones, we watched through that. Handmaid's Tale. Oh my God. Season 4 is it is turning out to be just hitting all the right notes. Oh my God. So my favorite, I don't know. I really enjoyed Game of Thrones. I really enjoyed that as a series.
That's in my top 3.
And Gil said, I'd like to chime in on the most underrated TV series. If you like Game of Thrones, y'all should check out Vikings on Amazon Prime. Great show that no one talks about. My girlfriend loves that show. I have not seen one episode. She watches that while I'm doing my hockey writing stuff or my podcast stuff. So that or listening to the Graveyard Tales podcast, which I did listen to a few episodes on a road trip to Southern Colorado a few weekends ago. So anyway,
nice.
Yes, lots of. Let's get back into hockey.
Let's get back to hockey. Yeah, I don't know.
Gil, we appreciate the diversion. We always appreciate those questions. Thank you, sir. All right. Next question. Let's go with Joseph Wills. And he says, can we talk potential Avs head coaches towards Brendan Morgan? I think Joseph is a good foil for you, Scott. Yeah. Oh, David Nola says Scrubs underrated. The episodes I've seen, I would agree with that.
A few episodes, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. But yes, he says Torts, Brindamore, Gallant. Who would get the most out of this team? Bring back Hartley? Oh no. Oh no.
Hot take, Joseph. No. So again, there's 1 year left on Bednar's contract. I think they'll see it through. If it's the same song and dance next year, then maybe they mutually agree to part ways or whatever it is. But I don't think he's in serious danger of losing his job just yet. So no, we will not talk about potential Avs head coaches. But yeah, I don't think Brendamore's leaving Carolina.
Hang on.
Torts is overrated. Gallant, I'd be okay. I'll be okay with Gallant.
Gallant would be good. So here's the thing. I've heard through the grapevine that for media availability, now that Carolina, end of season interviews and things like that, I've heard through the grapevine that the players are going to be available for that, but the coach and the GM will not be. So
I wonder if they'll have like their own separate one.
No, if you're reading the tea leaf, maybe, but if they're not going to appear at all, Ron Francis, Rod Brindamore, you have that tie, that Carolina tie. I think even that, well, no, not quite that Hartford tie, but yeah.
Oh, as far as going to like Seattle?
Yes. That's kind of, possibly. But
I could see
anyway, stay tuned. That's just reading. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but
I think he's so good for Carolina. I mean, he turned the team around. Like, and he's a guy that looked like, like a Jared Bednar type. Like they both came in like around the same time, took over their teams and then turned them from shit to like, a great respectable team. Yeah, I mean, like I would like a Brendamore in Colorado. I think would be nice because I think that's what they're missing is kind of that grit and that edge. That maybe Bednar's a little bit soft spoken, but I think he's a great coach overall, and the locker room loves him.
Mhm.
And, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the players too and the leadership on the team. And I don't think they're ready to let go of Coach Bednar yet. But again, it kind of works out because we'll give him, that'll light a fire in his ass, starting the 21-22 season. It's like, look, this is your contract year. Do you want to stay in Colorado or not? So,
how about that? Joseph says.
Damn, we did end up talking about head coaches potentially.
We did.
You got your
damn
way,
you, Joseph. Just kidding, bud. Love you, man. Full Press Hockey's Carolina Hurricanes correspondent Joseph Wills chiming in on the chat line. Appreciate you, bud. Thanks, man. All right, so next question. Let's talk Marie Sexton at Marie Sexton on the Twitters. Please discuss the sheer awesomeness of Logan OConnor. Parenthetically, I suspect this was on the agenda already, but just in case, a winky and tongue out emoji. There we go.
Please don't ever do that again. Okay. You guys are watching the video pod. That was horrifying what he just did there.
Oh.
Just kidding. All right. But no, Marie, I had to hold back, because I knew you had this question. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit, earlier, but you know how I feel about Logan OConnor. I mean, he brought a lot to the lineup last night, and I wrote about this last night as well after the game. It's I truly think if he would have been in the lineup for all 5 games against Vegas, I really do think the Avs would have stolen another game or two. I think he's that big of a deal. I think he's that much of a difference maker to this team, and that's a playoff mentality. That's a playoff hockey player, and that's what the Avalanche lack at the end of the day. It's a guy who's not only willing to finish his checks, but he seeks them out. He wants to mix it up, and he wants to be scrumming after every single play, and he's again finishing his checks, and he almost scored 2 goals last night, and he just buzzes around the ice every shift. He gives it all he can, and that's something the Avs lack. That's that killer instinct. That's the the jump that the team doesn't have, or I mean they have some of it, but not enough of it. And I think if you had a fourth line of Logan OConnor, Alex Newhook is great, but he's a little bit small and doesn't quite play that game. The Avs need more Logan OConnors to go deep and in the postseason. And you look at Vegas sitting across the bench from them is a bunch of Logan OConnors, a bunch of big guys who finish their checks and swarm the puck carrier and scrap it up at the end of every single whistle. And the Avs don't have that. Top line doesn't do that. Second line doesn't do that. Even their fourth line. The fourth line is supposed to be your checking line, and it's a pretty soft checking line at the end of the day. They do their job, but they don't do anything to intimidate. The Avs don't have anyone that intimidates anybody for anything. So I think Logan OConnor is one of those guys. It's when he's on the ice, I think Vegas is, checking over their shoulders a little bit more than they would if, someone else is on the ice. Nathan MacKinnon is on the ice. It's because it's easy once you figure out Nathan MacKinnon's game and, his play, drop it in your zone. And yeah, no, I agree. Derek Zuki. I think Calvert is another one of those guys, and it's unfortunate. And I think, they're obviously not as injured as they were last series, in the Dallas series, and they're down to their AHL team and their third string goalie who'd never played in the playoffs ever. That was rough, but I think the Avs are missing. They're way healthier, obviously, this year, but they're missing some key guys. And Matt Calvert's a playoff hockey player. This would be a different series if he was on a fourth line, like Derek Zuki just said there with OC. I think they'd be an incredible fourth line. That could be the missing piece. And then a guy like Eric Johnson, sure, maybe he doesn't really necessarily bring that much to the lineup, but he's that veteran presence. The guys love him in the locker room. He's the longest tenured player on the team, and everyone respects the hell out of him. And he's that guy that's willing to fucking take a puck to the face, if it means saving a goal. And
right.
The Avs don't have very many of those. They have Ryan Graves, and that is about it. Who's willing to. And Belmar, I will say Belmar, it's what he brings to that fourth line. It's not so much grit and tenacity, but he's, a fearless veteran guy, and he kind of leads the way. But it's about intimidating in the playoffs. It's about playing old school hockey, and the game the Avalanche play only gets you so far, and we're seeing that. It only gets you as far as the second round of the postseason, apparently. So,
who we didn't bring up? Nazem Kadri.
Yeah.
His
Again,
absence.
It's all. all the
His
guys
8-game
that bring that
suspension.
physical play,
Yeah.
they're missing. You know, whether it's on the back end with EJ or among the forwards, your top six. Yeah, having Nazem Kadri would have definitely been a bit of a difference maker. And yeah, he's a goon, but that's what they need. Like maybe he takes a couple penalties, but it's one other guy that again, Vegas has to look over their shoulders every time he's on the ice because he's finishing his checks, he's seeking them out. And then Calvert, Calvert is the prototypical, he's Logan OConnor, but the veteran version of him, or rather we should say Logan OConnor is kind of just the prototype of a Matt Calvert guy, and they're kind of just carbon copies of each other. And look what he brought in one game in the series. I think he was a difference maker out there. Just imagine if Calvert and OC were both healthy for the majority of this playoffs, it would have been a totally different story, I think. But you play with what you have.
You do. And David Nola, we'll get to your question here in a second. We actually have 3 concluding questions that kind of all piggyback off of each other. So I think we can conclude with that little cluster there. But in the meantime, thank you for that. Thank you for the sheer awesomeness question of Logan OConnor, Marie. We appreciate it. She's over at the rink, Colorado, covering the Eagles for them. But let's see here. So, of course, Teddy at TJ Tracy 92. So TJ was going to ask, here's another Connor Timmins question for you, Scott. What would you, as someone who knows the ins and outs of hockey, what would you recommend Connor Timmins do to get that faded first goal? I'm assuming that TJ is talking about the postseason goal.
Shoot the puck
overall. Shoot the puck.
I don't think he's scored a goal yet. No, I was actually just looking up stats. I mean, that's, again, you touched on a little bit earlier in the podcast. That's good things happen when you shoot the puck. And Coach Bednar is always preaching that. And look what happened, with the second left in the first period with Brandon Saad. You never know. You could just chuck one from half ice and it might just go in. Same thing with Connor Timmins. I tweeted this out last night, but I think I've seen a lot of growth in his game just over the last dozen games. He was a guy that I was I'm not sure he's built for this. He could potentially be some trade bait. He's just not settling into the NHL, and he's played, a good majority of the games where you can kind of get that idea of does this guy have it or not? And, Coach Bednar's liked him. He just hasn't really stuck out to me. And I think there's, better options out there. But I would say, the last half dozen games, he looks confident. He's holding onto the puck. He's making smart, patient plays. He's playing more physical. He's not shying away from anything. And, that was my biggest complaint about him is he just lacked that confidence. It was anytime he got the puck, he had no idea what to do with it. And he's just throwing it around the boards or something. He's not, being patient, looking for, a pass, or it's a half-ass pass, just in the general vicinity because he's afraid to get hit or something. But I've seen the opposite of that. Recently he's played great. And he's not shying away from the physical side of it, especially with a hard-hitting team like Vegas. He's holding his own, and he's trying to make plays out there, which is awesome. It just shows his confidence. But yeah, I guess my biggest complaint, why he hasn't had that goal yet is he's not shooting the puck. That's I think actually. So I looked it up. He's last among the defensemen in the playoffs. He has 7 shots on goal. Even Patrick Nemeth has more shots on goal. So There you go. And then. So that's just during the postseason. Then regular season, he is definitely among the bottom, 25%. Yeah, 31 shots on goal in 31 games. So it's even Logan OConnor. Logan OConnor played 22 games at 37 shots. Jacob McDonald, 49 shots in 33 games. That's a defenseman. And obviously Sam Girard, even Ryan Graves is up there. Cale Makar, Devontae. So he's last among defensemen and shots. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's you never know. And it's you're a demon. Just throw a hard pass, towards the general vicinity of the net. And someone will tip it in, or it might squeak between the pads. That's how a lot of those goals are scored. You're not sniping, most of those goals. So just shoot the puck. That's the answer. That goes for everyone in the lineup, not just Connor Timmins.
Pucks on net.
Cliches. Yes. Yeah. They work.
They're cliches for a reason. There's a reason that they're cliches.
It's true.
All right. Last 3 questions, but we're going to clump them all together because we're over an hour at this point, and they all kind of tie into each other. So let's go Desktop Penguin at Desktop Penguin, one of the sponsors of the show. Thank you kindly. What's the one free agent that you think the Avs need, in all capital letters, to go out and sign this offseason, not named Landeskog or Makar? Then you had Fred J at Durfzuki, Durf McGurf, with the rumor mill always bringing Seth Jones to Colorado. His dad Popeye played for the Nuggets back in the day, if you don't know. In what possible reality can we fit him under the cap unless most of our unrestricted free agents leaves and Seattle takes a big piece maybe? And third question, David Nola 985 in the YouTube chat. He says, if you could add a gritty guy to the Avs, who would it be? So first, let's tackle what's the one free agent you think the Avs need to go out and sign this offseason? Does it need to be a gritty guy?
That's tough. Yeah, no, I don't know. For one, I will say this. I don't think the Avs have the space to go out and, acquire anyone. They have their own in-house work, and, Joe Sakic in his, earlier press conferences this season's kind of said as much. Like, it's going to be kind of a boring offseason. Like, you got to lock up Cale Makar at $8 to $9 million a year, super max term. You got Gabe Landeskog, who's going to get $6 to $7 million. You got Grubauer, who's a Vezina finalist, who just is going to get a nice pay raise. He's probably making $6 to $7 million if you want to keep him. So it's going to be tough. A lot of these free agents they brought in, like Soderberg's gone, Nimitz's gone. They said that, during the post-deadline press conference, a lot of these guys aren't getting re-signed. Like Brandon Saad is probably, gone. I wouldn't mind re-signing him if they have the space, but the Avs are going to get a lot younger next year, and which can be a little troublesome because, this is probably the best team they've had. Obviously, they're Stanley Cup contenders all season long, and we're the favorites. They have a stacked roster, their best one since 2001, or whatever, like you want to say. But they're going to get young, next year. Like, it's going to be Alex Newhook will be a permanent fixture. Logan OConnor is on a one-way deal next year, which is fantastic. Guys like Belmar are gone. Calvert's going to be gone, obviously. Martin Kaut might have his chance to make the team, but they're going to have to get cheaper. It's going to be a lot of entry-level contract guys. So, Bo Byram's on a cheap entry-level contract. I think Connor Timmins is actually like up for a contract as well, but I mean, he's not going to get a huge one by any means. And then obviously Logan OConnor is making like $1.5 million, something like that. So I think they're going to go like very young next season, and that's how they're going to have to keep it cheap. So I don't know if they're going to have the space to go out there and get some guy without, trading away some big pieces or, buying out Eric Johnson, which I think is something that might happen. And again, I've been saying it for a while, but I think the game plan is to, offer Seattle some sort of package deal, to take Eric Johnson, retain maybe some of his salary, 25%, half his salary, whatever it is, and then maybe offer them, a third round pick or something like that to not take, Ryan Graves or Tyson Jost or some of these other guys. Tyson Jost is going to need to be re-signed, which I think he will, to much to the dismay of, a lot of Avs fans out there, but he's definitely won me over. I'll tell you that. And in a team that lacks kind of that defensive killer instinct, he's a guy that's been very consistent and has been a top 3 defensive forward, statistically speaking, and fancy stats, analytically speaking as well. He's been a top 3, defensive forward. Val Nichushkin, another guy too. So I think they're just going to try to keep a lot of the in-house guys, and I don't know if they're going to make a run at anybody. Seth Jones is going to be way too damn expensive. He's not coming.
5.4 million. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they have 5.4 million of cap space, especially after. And you got to think long term too. Like Seth Jones is not going to sign. Maybe he would sign, just a cheap 1-year deal. It's like, let's go try to win a Stanley Cup in Colorado. But at the end of the day, you got Nathan McKinnon in the pipeline too, who's he's gone on record saying he would take a pay cut if it meant, getting some pieces and competing for a Stanley Cup. And, that's the selfless PR answer to say, but he's going to get a raise. Like he's got the cheapest, most valuable contract in the NHL for the production that he brings. And he's going to get paid like it, him, Landeskog, Makar, your core guys, like they're going to be making at least $7 million a piece, for a long time. So
right.
It's tough. And the salary cap's not changing next year. So it's going to be the same. So they don't really have room to work with. I know it's boring, and they're not going to, go after the Taylor Halls or, the exciting names, whoever the big name UFAs are going to be. It's just not happening, unfortunately.
We'll see if they bring back Brandon Saad too. I mean, he's proved himself invaluable in this playoffs.
Yeah.
So and he's
I would say, I mean, that would
well.
be like the guy that, again, it's like in-house. Like, I don't think they're going to go after anyone. I think they're just going to try to lock up what they have and try to keep the core as intact as they can, and then also inject some of that youth in there. You know, maybe we see Shane Bowers, maybe we see Martin Kaut as full-time guys, and you know, we'll certainly see all the D guys. Like Bowen Byram will be, you know, a cheap entry-level contract. He'll be a mainstay next year, and Connor Timmins, whatever he gets re-signed at. So, yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that looks, especially with a lot of the ELCs that the Avs signed during the postseason. There was like, you know, 3 or 4 ELCs announced in the span of a week, and then of course you had Tardif as well. So the Eagles, they're going to be stacked, and then that's going to bleed over the guys that are ready to graduate, as it were, up to the Avalanche. Yeah, it'll be an interesting. Like you said, they're going to get younger. I think that's a good prediction. I think that's an accurate prediction. So, and then of course, Seattle with the expansion draft, we'll see who they take from the Avs. Again, I will remind everyone as a conclusion to the main portion of the show, who the Vegas Golden Knights took 4 years ago during their expansion draft from the Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights legend. And I say that facetiously because he did not play one game for the Golden Knights. Calvin Pickard, goaltender Calvin Pickard, who is now at the AHL level, I believe still playing with the Grand Rapids Griffins, the Detroit Red Wings minor league club. So, hey, it could work out the same way it did back when Vegas
I don't know.
So,
I will say Seattle has been they've been scouting the Avs, you know, quite a few times, sitting up there in the press box. So
Joseph asks, is TJ Tynan worth bringing up? You might as well give him a shot. He won AHL MVP. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's another guy. Speaking of contracts, you know, he's
right.
Pay a raise. He's not signed next year yet. He's not
going to be a free agent.
A Colorado Eagle. So, I mean, he's going to get a nice raise, and we'll see if the Eagles can afford him. And I would love, you know, for him to be back. Obviously, he's the reigning MVP, but you know, he can get money elsewhere too. So, yep, I don't know. And yeah, the Eagles aren't necessarily in a, you know, winning position. If that's what he cares about right now, like, then he'll probably go somewhere else, but I hope he stays.
He would definitely be a key piece there. But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. In the meantime, again, Game 6 tomorrow night, Thursday night, June 10th at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So there's that. And there is episode number 22 of Front Range Hockey. Wrapping it up, putting it in the books. Thank you for tuning in to the program. Don't forget to follow our show on pretty well any major podcast platform: Google, Apple, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Of course, if you're watching live, you're watching on YouTube. You see my YouTube account, CC Hawkley. Give it a subscribe so you don't miss any episodes that come on. Give our Twitter account a follow, as you can see by the handle scrolling below, at Front RNG. That is Ringo November Golf. I think it's Ringo. Okay. My military speak. My that brain is anyway. That brain's a little fuzzy right now. We're an hour and 12 minutes into it.
Threw me off. Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, didn't mean to. But Durfzuki giving us the good job, boys. Love it. With the little 2 beers going.
Cheers.
Cheers. Durfzuki also says Sakic and Co. are going to be busy signing this summer. Yes, they are. So
a lot of negotiations to try to fit under that cap. So we'll see who takes the discounts and who doesn't, because they're going to need to be some discounts.
Speaking of fitting under that cap, Scott, you and your big brain underneath that ball cap, where can people find you on social media and in the written form?
Nice segue. You can find me on Twitter, as always, at offscottfree. That's at 0FF Scott Free. At Oscar Free was taken, unfortunately, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. I have more followers than the other off Scott Free, so
yes, you do.
All good. Anyway,
your brand.
You can find my written work at coloradohockeynow.com. Posting all day, every day there. Post game analysis, unbiased and some biased, and there will certainly be, you know, a couple columns, couple Scott takes, as I call them, on there. You know, about what the future holds, and you know, if everything goes the way I think that's going to go this series, then there'll be some passionate columns that'll be written. So by both Adrian Dater and myself.
Yeah, and you guys have been producing a lot of good work this postseason. So keep up the good work, both of y'all, for sure. My voice is dying.
It's time to cut then, huh?
It's time to wrap it up. So I am CC Hawkley. Real quick, the Front Range Hockey Podcast is part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can go back, listen to this program and a lot of other great hockey podcasts, a lot of other great sports and sports entertainment shows at www.fullpresscoverage.com. They have the podcast submenu. You click that, you got all the options. So go and check it out there at Full Press Coverage. You can check out my written work on Full Press Hockey at www.fullpresshockey.com. And I think I'm due for a written piece. So I got to, figure it out, put some ideas on paper, and do what I do best. And that's writing articles. Love me some written work. So I need to get on that for sure. And lastly, Durf Zuki says Child 44 is a Scott-free production. Any relation?
I don't know what that is, but
I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry, Fred.
but
no,
we'll
have to look it up after this.
Yeah.
No affiliation there. So, well, hey, guys, gals, non-binary pals, not just a trite saying that we dusted off for Pride Month here in June. We've been saying it since damn well near the beginning. All inclusive, everybody. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you once again for listening. And that's all for episode number 22, Claude Lemieux. Stay colorful, my Colorado and non-Colorado friends, but Colorado hockey friends. Stay colorful, and we will see you later.